everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, a Friday night pod. Just getting one in before the Bills begin their preseason. Just wrapped up work at the Batavia Daily News. Now, looking forward to the weekend and tomorrow. What are your plans for the weekend, AJ?
Yeah, so after this, I'm again, I don't know if we've gotten into this on the pod, but I am a can jam world champ. So this is when me and my cousins start ramping up kind of that activity. So tonight we'll start practicing.
You got to ramp up. You got to ramp
doing our
up.
throws of 50, trying to see how many threes you can get and kind of, going from there. Having fun, obviously, as well. We don't take it too seriously, but there is $1,000 on the line.
I've seen the videos, AJ. You guys take it pretty damn seriously.
We do. So there's $1,000 on the line this year. So I think there's a little bit more to play for. It's a little bit bigger event. It's at Buffalo Riverworks. So looking forward to that. But that's first off. Then maybe hit up the fair this weekend, Erie County Fair. Obviously, cover the Bills game tomorrow. Bills preseason home opener against the Bears, and then that's really all I have. Maybe some activity Saturday night, but all in all, just really some can jam practice, Bills game covering that, and then the maybe hitting up the Erie County Fair.
Yeah, I don't know if we've touched on the can jam. We have touched on your rec sports prowess and a lot of sports winding down, but can jam ramping up.
Exactly. The yard games are still in full effect here.
Yeah, so we're ready to go. And we are ready to go for Bills Bears preseason action, and wanted to record this tonight just to give the people a quick preview, whether they listen to it tonight or tomorrow morning, which would be Saturday morning if you're listening to it. Bills play the Bears 1 p.m. Saturday at Highmark Stadium. Chicago's already kicked off their preseason action, played in the Hall of Fame game. Caleb Williams expected to play for the Bears this weekend against the Bills, along with Josh Allen and much of the Bills starters, who Sean McDermott said are expected to see about a quarter of action. More on that later, and whether or not AJ and I think we believe that's a good course of action. But weather on game day should be about 70 degrees at kickoff, but a bit windy, about 20-mile-per-hour winds. No precipitation expected throughout the matchup between the Bears and Bills. The game will be aired on local CBS affiliates, including WROC Channel 8 in Rochester and WIVB in Buffalo. And nationally, the game can be viewed on NFL Network. Andrew Catalan, Steve Tasker on the call alongside sideline reporter Maddie Glab, her first opportunity to become a sideline reporter. So excited for that. Now, AJ, let's get into maybe a hot topic of debate. Should Josh Allen and the Bills starters be playing in this preseason game, or any preseason game action for that matter? I think if you ask me, the risk doesn't outweigh the reward here. The other way around. I don't think the reward outweighs the risk. I think if Josh Allen or another Bills starter goes down during the preseason, I think you'll have Bills fans up in arms. And I'm not sure the benefit of getting starters and Josh Allen out there for a quarter really moves the needle, whereas an injury could be catastrophic to the season. Obviously, that's what Sean McDermott and his staff were weighing when they made this decision. And in the past, it hasn't always been the case with Josh Allen and the starters playing. I know McDermott does like to get his players out there. He has said before that he sees value in that. And I'm not sure we'll see Matt Milano or Von Miller, but a lot of other of the starters expected to play. And I'm just not so sure that that's a good course of action.
Yeah, I mean, last year you go back to last preseason and Allen didn't play in the first game, played in the second game against the Steelers, and then ended up actually playing in the third game as well because of how rough the offense looked going back in that second game. So McDermott felt like the offense and defense both needed to play again. I think you're going to see. I think McDermott says all the starters are playing. He puts them all in a box, like a Von Miller. Like I don't really know if you expect to see him, a veteran that's been in this league, a Daquan Jones. Is there really any reason he should be out there? But I think with the transitional phase the Bills are undergoing, with all the new pass catchers and what the Bills are trying to do, you got two new coordinators. You got Bobby Babbage calling plays. You got Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano communicating with new safeties on the back end. There's a lot to figure out this year, and for me, I think again, injuries do happen. Injuries can occur at any point, at any time. The training camp, it can happen. Someone's season can end. Rondale Moore from the Falcons just had an air cast put on his leg, and he's out for the year. A guy that I thought had some potential in Atlanta, now season's gone because of a training camp practice. So I think all in all, is there more risk in a game with tackling and all that? Sure, but there's both sides to it, and I think, of course, Sean McDermott wants to really see what his new offensive coordinator, his new defensive coordinator, and then what this new group of offensive playmakers looks like. You got Connor McGovern snapping the ball to Josh Allen. That's another thing that they need to continue to get reps with. So I think there's a lot of parts on this roster that maybe Allen won't play in the second one, or maybe he won't play in the third one. But I think it is important, and maybe a quarter's a little bit too much, maybe a drive or two. Like you could argue maybe the length, but I think it is important that they're getting reps, working on their communication up front with a new center, a new left guard in David Edwards, and a whole new pass catching group. And on the defensive side of the ball, you have a new safeties, corners. That Rasul Douglas was here, but he wasn't really up to speed last year. So a full year for him, and a new defensive play caller. So I think it makes sense that the Bills starters are going against the Chicago Bears on Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't think that you'll see Allen and the starters in that third preseason game this year. I think if you'll see them on the field again after this first preseason game, it'll be next week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, with that practice in Pittsburgh, that shared practice with the Steelers leading into the preseason game on Saturday, that shared practice scheduled for Thursday morning. And that's why I don't know if that's such a great idea to throw Josh Allen and the starters out in week one. You do have that extra opportunity in that shared practice with the Steelers where it's kind of a scrimmage environment and a more controlled environment, which allows for less chance of injury. And I think it would be more, I think it would behoove the Bills more to throw Josh Allen and the starters, maybe for some extra action during that shared practice rather than extra preseason action when you have guys out there trying to earn jobs. It's not regular season speed, but at the same time, you have guys still trying to earn their role on their team's respective roster. And like I said, just to see Josh Allen or another player for that matter that the Bills are counting on this year go down in the preseason, I think that would just have fans up in arms and questioning why they were even out there in the first place. But that's the way we have it. The starters and Allen will be on the field for about a quarter on Saturday, along with Caleb Williams. He's going to be an exciting show to watch. The Heisman Trophy winner and just all-around special talent. What are you excited to see from him?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Caleb Williams with this team. And I think going back to like the starters playing, now I will be upset if they're putting Allen in, like, if Joe Brady's like, okay, Allen, read option, you're keeping it. Like, okay, they're you know what I mean? It's going to be pretty vanilla, I think, from the offense. The offensive line is going to have to use their technique and do their job, but I don't think it's going to be hopefully too extreme of play calling. I think it's going to be pretty basic. Get the ball out quick, see what your playmakers can do. But going back to the Caleb Williams kind of saga and how he's come about, I think I'm really excited for him, Alex. I think he's a guy. He can throw the ball well off platform. He can extend plays outside the pocket. He can throw on the run. Kind of a Josh Allen-esque player. Can use his legs to get yardage. So there is some things that he can do that's similar to Josh. You have a three-headed trio. Now, do I expect like a Keenan Allen to play? I'm not sure. Again, a 32-year-old vet. Why would he be out there? But I'm expecting a Romo Odunze to be out there, even a DJ Moore. So we'll see those two guys as well. So I'm just excited for this Bears entire offensive unit. You have a couple of injuries up front. The right guard, Nate Davis, is out with an injury. He's considered week to week. So guess who's stepping in? Ryan Bates. So you'll see Ryan Bates at right guard. The Bills traded him this offseason for a fifth rounder. and he'll be in action along with Tremaine Edmonds on the defensive side. So the Bears offense, according to Locked On Bills, Locked On Bears, I listened to the podcast on the way back from Batavia today. The Bears' offensive line has been a little dinged up, but they seem relatively healthy. Darnell Wright, it seems the right tackle is questionable to go at this point, but we'll see what happens there. And then defensively, they're pretty healthy. They have, like, again, some questions as to how many starters will play. Will Kevin Byard play, a veteran safety, like a 31-year-old that's been doing it in the league for a while? So there are some questions with both teams. How many starters are going to play, and there's even questions with how many snaps the Bears are going to play. It's not a set snap count. Head coach Matt Eberflus didn't really give any substance of how long the starters are playing like Sean McDermott did. So all in all, I'm looking forward to Caleb Williams. I think he has a high ceiling. I think he can be a unicorn at the cornerback position, maybe not to the Josh Allen extent, but he definitely has the traits to be special. And this Bears team is going to be fun. They're minus 105 to make the playoffs right now. So Vegas does believe in this Bears team.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of pundits pick the Bears to win their division and perhaps advance in the playoffs. This is a solid young team. Obviously, a local name here, Ryan Poles, a Caledonia native, more so a native of Canandaigua. I think his family from Caledonia, more so in our territory, and then out there near Rochester and Canandaigua is where he went to school. But it's nice to see him taking hold with the Bears, and it'll be nice to see a former Heisman Trophy winner and top pick and Caleb Williams out there performing. An injury report heading into this game for the Bills: safety Mike Edwards and safety Cole Bishop unlikely to play, as Sean McDermott said. All these players that popped up on the injury report on Thursday unlikely to play. Also, linebacker Nicholas Moreau, wide receiver Chase Claypool, running back Ty Johnson, offensive lineman Travis Clayton, linebacker Edifon Ulofoshio, defensive tackle Daquan Jones, edge rusher Casey Toohill, wide receiver Justin Shorter, wide receiver Matt Collins, and wide receiver KJ Hamler. Although the nature of his injury was not disclosed as far as I know. I did not see it disclosed. I don't think the Bills released that information yesterday. I think he needed a good preseason and needs a good preseason to make the team. Also, you have Chase Claypool trying to work his way back into relevance here after a nothing training camp. He went down before the pads came on with that toe injury. And really that leads me to our next point, which is the 53-man roster projection that we did on the dailynewsonline.com. A bit more discrepancy with our list this time around. We came up with the same 53 going into training camp, but our latest edition, we did have some disagreements, but we were able to settle in on some. Maybe you can mention some of the disagreements you had along the way, but let's just talk about the wide receiver position and Chase Claypool coming into training camp. Obviously, a head full of steam, really leader in the clubhouse, but the way Tyrell Shavers has come on and now Marquez Valdez-Scantling coming on in recent days. Just why don't you give me some wide receivers that you think need a big preseason here? I've mentioned a few, and just what they need to do in order to push their way onto the roster or even a chance at the practice squad here come August 27th.
Yeah, so I think you're really narrowing it down here, Alex, to, let's count this up real quick in my head, 8 guys, I think, fighting for maybe 5 or 6 spots. I think at this point you can safely say that Justin Shorter, Andy Isabella, Brian Thompson, Lawrence Keys, and Xavier Johnson are probably all, if they do stick around, a practice squad candidates. I just don't see really any room for them to really make a push. I really think you have the veterans of the room and Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins, Marquez Valdez-Scantling at this point. Basically roster locks. Now the pecking order with how the targets are split up is still remain to be seen, but I feel like with those veterans, you feel like you have a good idea. And then with Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, the younger guys, you feel like those are locks. So if they keep 5, that's really the 5 that I expect to be, for the Bills to keep. When it gets to 6, that's where it gets tricky because I still think it's between Terrell Shavers, KJ Hamler, and I a long shot of Chase Claypool because I think just the injury has really set him back so much. And Terrell Shavers and KJ Hamler, I think, have really shown enough for maybe to push Claypool out of the competition, especially with MVS's emergence over the past couple of days, and a Matt Collins who has a similar skill set to Chase Claypool, but can play special teams more consistently. So I think right now it's really between KJ Hamler and Terrell Shavers. Maybe Chase Claypool can sneak in there, but again, he's probably not going to be on the field tomorrow against the Bears. So if you really want to look, narrow it down to 2 guys, to really focus on tomorrow for that wide receiver room, I would say Terrell Shavers, a former undrafted free agent, had a strong preseason training camp last year, has continued that this season, and has really just stuck around, kept doing, special things. I wouldn't say he's really stood out crazily over the past few days of training camp, but he's a guy that can get open at every level. I think he has good hands. He's shown consistency at the point of attack in terms of catching the ball. And then KJ Hamler, I think, is coming off his best couple days the last few days at St. John Fisher, really stacking, showing the speed, especially underneath, getting open and accelerating to the second and third levels of the defense and showing that speed. The big thing for him will also be staying healthy. How will he look as a punt returner? Because that could give him an edge over Terrell Shavers as well. And then again, you also have, I'm sure we'll get to Declan Hardy, but you also have him in the mix for that return job as well. I know we've talked about this mightily on Right Here, Right Now. We've been doing daily podcasts here now for a few weeks. But yeah, I'm really looking forward. I think that's what it comes down to, Alex, is Terrell Shavers and KJ Hamler right now for that 6th spot if they do keep 6, and maybe an outside shot of Chase Claypool if he can fix the toe up and get out there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Justin Shorter Hive is dying off slowly but surely. He sustained an injury late in camp and really hadn't done much leading up to that injury. So I think time is running out for him in terms of his push for a roster spot. Still a chance at the practice squad for Shorter. But I think when we decided on our 53-man roster projection, I think you had Hamler in this spot. I had Shavers. I think but after going back and forth, we decided on Shavers. But like you said, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they kept Hamler just due to that special teams ability. Daquan Hardy, I think, has a good chance to be the punt returner, but I'm not sure they are as reliant on him in terms of his ability to return kicks, and maybe they'd like to slot Hamler better into that position. But it's still a question whether or not we'll see him out there with the Bears. His injury hasn't been disclosed. He was being tested before Thursday's practice, so that leads you to believe that it's not necessarily of significant nature, and maybe there is a chance we see him out there, but based off McDermott's comments on Thursday, I would doubt that. So Tyrell Shavers, leader in the clubhouse here for wide receiver. At quarterback, obviously Josh Allen, Mitch Trubisky. Running back, we have the likely names: James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, Reggie Gilliam, the fullback. But Ty Johnson, he needs to get back sooner rather than later, really losing ground to Ray Davis in that battle for running back 2. I think I'd put Ray Davis as the leader in the clubhouse now for that position. Davis, some minor ball security issues throughout training camp, but I've really liked his physicality, his burst through the hole, and his vision has really been impressive. He's really a decisive runner. He sees the hole and he hits it quick. He's had a number of big runs throughout training camp, and Ray Davis gaining ground in this running back room, and he's going to get a lot of work during this preseason. James Cook not going to get a lot of work, and with Ty Johnson on the mend, you're going to see a lot of Ray Davis, I believe, during the preseason.
Yeah, totally agree with you. That's what I think. He was a player to watch in my article for the Bills-Bears preseason preview, the game on the dailynewsonline.com. Go check that out. Pretty in-depth stuff. I'm trying to, Alex obviously helped me out with what to put in there. So I think working on that throughout the year, I think Bills fans will get a good sense of a lot of things regarding the game in terms of whatever you really want.
And those will be coming every single week. Nice in-depth preview from AJ. Did a nice job with it. Make sure to check that out on the dailynewsonline.com. That'll get you ready for each game, preseason and regular season and playoffs this year.
Absolutely. Hopefully playoffs, fingers crossed. But yeah, Ray Davis he's going to have a workload, Alex. And I think Darrington Evans will also have a workload. And who knows, maybe there is an avenue for Darrington Evans to sneak into that running back 3 role if he can really show out. I don't think Ty Johnson, he was fine last year toward the end of the year. I think he did some good things, but numbers wise, he wasn't that crazily productive in terms of what he did with the Bills last year. So I still think that Darrington Evans could be in play for maybe a sneaky roster spot RB3 role. But again, I would still give the nod to Ty Johnson. But in terms of Ray Davis, everything I've seen from him, like you mentioned, hitting the hole, I think he's shown good burst. Ran a 4.52 40-yard dash, but I think he's quicker than that. Like, he's football quicker. I think when he gets to that third level, he does have the ability to outrun these safeties and corners. So his ability to put his foot in the ground, his ability as a pass blocker, I think has really shown up, picking up, extra linebackers or DBs in obvious pass down situations when the defense is sending pressure. I've really liked what I've seen from him. So a 24-year-old who's going to get a lot of work, got a lot of work at the college level. I expect that to continue throughout the preseason. And I really do expect Ray Davis to solidify and carve out a significant role as RB2 for this team moving forward.
Little over halfway through the pod, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. AJ, another player on your players to watch on your Bills-Bears preseason preview on the dailynewsonline.com. Zach Davidson, a surprise addition on our 53-man roster projection. We did not have him in on our last projection to begin training camp, but his performance has been undeniable. He's been consistent. Every day it seems like he's making a play, and to be quite honest with you, Quentin Morris has done the same as of late at training camp. So we have 4 tight ends on the roster. I don't think that you did initially. I think this 53-man roster projection, I started it, and I think it does kind of stray toward what my opinion is. So if you want to push back here at all, make sure you make sure you do. But we went with Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Quentin Morris, and Zach Davidson. And we'll explain how the Bills are going to be able to keep 4 tight ends, at least in our minds, just after this. But Zach Davidson, just a mainstay at training camp. He's really exciting to watch. He's tall. He's got great catching ability. He seems to be open at every level, and he catches everything thrown his way. He seems to be available for Josh Allen and other quarterbacks. He's worked with the first team a little bit as training camp has gone along. And Josh Allen said the other day he's really going to force Brandon Beane's hand, and I think getting that endorsement from your quarterback really speaks volumes. Right now, I have Davidson making this team. Things could change. Maybe he sustains an injury, God forbid. Maybe Quentin Morris just explodes during the preseason. But as we said with Ray Davis, Davidson is going to get so many opportunities this preseason. And in one sense, that may work against the Bills, because if they try to sneak him on the practice squad, if he performs well during the preseason, that's not going to be a favorable proposition. But yeah, I like what I've seen from Davidson. I think it's going to continue in a little bit of game action here starting on Saturday.
I think they can keep him on the practice squad. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Now, could I see them keep 4 or maybe even keep Davidson over Morris? Sure. I think, like John Roberts said, he definitely stands out. 6'7", 251 pounds. I'm gonna give John Robert his credit there and say that he is correct with the height and weight. I mean, he sure looks 6'7", 250 in person, right, Alex? I mean, he's a big guy.
You're getting there the way you're hitting the gym, my friend.
Yeah. So hey, remember, discipline. But yeah, I really do like Zach Davidson's work throughout camp. I think he's shown enough to me that he deserved to be, written about in a preseason preview, the first game. I think that's a player that Bills fans who have not been to camp yet at St. John Fisher or were not able to go need to keep an eye on, because he's been very talented throughout camp. He's shown his ability to win. He's very athletic. Again, a very high RAS score, which calculates a bunch of different tests at the combine every year. This guy, I got to credit the correct person who actually created it. I will get to that, but he creates a RAS score, and his is through the charts. It's super high. So he's a very, very gifted athletically. I think if you combine that with how, like you said, Alex, his consistent hands and ability in the red zone, especially, I thought he's performed well. I mean, a 6'7", 250 pound guy that can run a 4.6. If he can, become a consistent pass catcher and understand leverage and where to go in zone, and there's a lot more he has to do to develop his game. But overall, I see why you put him on your final 53 man. But I think he's a guy that they can stash on the practice squad if they feel the need to, and Quentin Morris can continue to trade punches with him, and they feel confident enough because of his special teams ability and because of his experience in the system. They feel like Morris is the play, but it's going to be a tough decision for Brandon Beane.
Davidson's going to go off with like 12 touchdowns in the preseason and make you eat your words. And then,
my God.
And then they're going to try to sneak him on the practice squad. The Patriots are going to pick him up, and he's going to be the next edition of Rob Gronkowski. And I'm going to harken back to this conversation. And
well, when KJ Hamler gets poached
like
off the practice squad after scoring 2 punt return touchdowns and going for 100 yards in 2 of the 3 games, and actually 2 of 2 games because he's not going to play this week, then I'll tell you about that one too.
So you'll be watching Hamler. I'll be watching Davidson. That's really our battle for this preseason. Who's going to show out more in the preseason? I think I already have a leg up because I don't even think Hamler's going to play on Saturday. Right. So I think I'm the leader in the clubhouse there. I think I've said that phrase about 6 times throughout this podcast, but it's one that I absolutely love. Wow. Let's move on. Another player in your players to watch for the Bills-Bears preseason preview is Connor McGovern. But before we discuss him, the 53-man roster projection that I and AJ settled on fell on 8 offensive linemen for the Bills. Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, David Edwards, Osiris Torrance, Connor McGovern as the starting 5. Then you have Ryan Vandermark as the swing tackle, Alec Anderson kind of as the utility man that can go primarily inside but can also work at tackle in a pinch, and then Cedric Van Pran Granger, the rookie, another helper inside. I think the surprise cut here for me was La'el Collins, the money that they committed to him this offseason. I just haven't seen anything from La'el Collins, nor Will Clapp for that matter, another free agent veteran signing, trying to make this team. I just don't think they've produced during training camp. They've quite honestly looked pretty rough out there. And I think in order for the Bills to keep Zach Davidson and Quentin Morris, maybe keeping Morris around more so for his special teams, Davidson more for his pass catching ability. But I think the trigger here that they're going to have to pull is that 8 offensive linemen. If they do indeed keep 9, I think that could lead to the casualty of either Morris or Davidson on this roster. But hey, preseason is about bold predictions. I got the Bills keeping 8 offensive linemen. I think Vandermark and Anderson, especially with Anderson's bit of versatility, I think that gives you some extra confidence there and might allow you to keep 8.
Yeah, I think I had La'el Collins on my initial, or the one I did today. And I know we haven't seen that much of him, but with the contract, and I feel like every time he's either lining up with the second or third team, he's lined up at tackle, guard. So he does offer that versatility as well. Now he is 31 coming off an injury. So that, makes you wonder, like, does he have any gas left in the tank? Have they noticed throughout training camp that he's just a guy that you feel like Father Time's got to him and he's not really in football shape and he's not able to block these tight ends even in a pinch, or block these defensive linemen even in a pinch. So it'll be interesting to see what La'el Collins can be. And I'm really intrigued to see him throughout preseason because I think he's someone that his stock's at his lowest right now. But if he can really put together a good couple preseason games, I think his potential to see his stock rise could be very abundant, because I think his ceiling still, if he can get back to anything he used to be, he could be a very key depth piece on this offensive line. You have Alec Anderson, who plays guard tackle, who can really do it all, and has really been like, the
also center. He's been working as the backup center as well.
Right. And center as well. So he's been a focal point of, a lot of the scrums. I think he's brought kind of a toughness to that offensive line as well. And then I think you have Cedric Van Pran Granger, who I think they really value. I thought it was great value in the 5th round for the Bills to get him. And then obviously the starting 5, Torrance, Brown, McGovern, David Edwards, and Deion Dawkins, who, kind of the guys. And then Ryan Vandermark, who's really been there whenever Deion Dawkins had to leave with a personal matter. And then the practice before that, when I was there, Dawkins missed a couple snaps and Vandermark slid in. So I think Ryan Vandermark is the solidified guy, the 6th offensive lineman on this team. And then down the list, what we just mentioned. So if they keep 8, if they keep 9, it'll be interesting. But I think they do keep 9, and I would be surprised again with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid at the top of that tight end room. Keeping 4 there, just I don't know if that makes sense right now.
Saw Van Pran Granger pumping gas the other day at St. John Fisher University, looking forward to the long haul back to Buffalo. I'm sure he's enjoying being in his friendly confines, as many of us are. Let's speed through the defense here, as we're over 30 minutes already. Edge rusher, player to watch, Devon Solomon, but I think elsewhere it's really decided. Greg Rousseau, AJ Epineza, Von Miller, DeJuan Smoot, the leaders there to make the roster. Kingsley Jonathan may push Javon Solomon for a roster spot. He did make the team last year, but I've really liked what I've seen from the rookie. Spoke with him yesterday. He's really used his fundamentals and that technique to allow him to gain some solid pressures throughout training camp. So I think Solomon's going to make this team. That leaves Kingsley Jonathan, I think, is the odd man out.
Yeah, I like what I've seen. Again, Javon Solomon, I wrote him up in the preseason preview. He's a guy that has flashed, again, a leading sack getter. And I don't think, again, a guy that's done it at the level he did it at college, I know it's still the MAC, but he's still a 16.5 sack guy. I think putting him on the practice squad is a bit risky because I could see him getting poached right away just because of what he did in college and what he's done so far at training camp. And if you continue to work in the preseason, you're looking at a guy that I think has some promise. I know he's a bit undersized, and he might not be anything more than a pass rush specialist in this league and a below average run defender. But a lot of offenses in today's NFL pass the ball, and I think having a guy that you can count on as a DN5 to come in a pinch and even in a limited rotational role and get to the quarterback, I think that's important. So Javon Solomon, keep an eye on him, Bills fans. He's a guy that I think has shown a lot. Great pass rushing technique. I think he has to work on, again, getting up to speed at the NFL level. But all in all, I'm really looking forward to looking at Solomon, what he can be for this defense moving forward.
Not much to talk about at defensive tackle. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Austin Johnson, Deshaun Williams, Dwayne Carter seem to be shoo-ins to make the roster. Eli Anku, practice squad candidate. Brenton Dean also has made some plays throughout training camp. Maybe they can get him on the practice squad. Gable Steveson, I think, also another player they might like to get back. He's been performing on special teams in practice, so maybe some versatility there that might allow him to progress in his new role in this new sport. Another player to watch, perhaps if he's on the field this weekend, Matt Milano, but once again, I doubt that we'll see him. But he's progressed well throughout training camp. Balin Spector made our 53-man roster projection. He did not make our initial projection, but he's been out there with the second team alongside Dorian Williams throughout training camp. So I'm expecting right now, if Balin Spector can get through the preseason healthy, which has been tough for him, that he'll make the roster along with Deion Jones. Edifon Ulofoshio is an IR candidate with that rib injury. And then Joanne Dreesen may be a practice squad candidate. And then you have Shane Simon as a cut as well. Moving to cornerback. And that IR designation for Edifon Ulofoshio on our 53-man roster projection is in response to Joe Marino roasting us last time when we didn't account for the cut of Reed Ferguson. So we have accounted for that this time around. Moving, like I said, to cornerback. Daquan Hardy's been the star of the show throughout training camp. The rookie making plays on the boundary, working well in the slot. We have Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram also making the team. And then obviously Kyer Elam, Taron Johnson, Christian Benford, and Rasul Douglas. Talk a little bit about Hardy and what you'd like to see from him this preseason. Obviously, the return ability, another aspect that we're looking for over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I did not include Daquan Hardy in my players to watch because of the fact I think with what he's done throughout training camp.
Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on me. He'll be in one of these. He'll be in an upcoming one. But I just think for now, I want to see him in game action out there with the second or third team unit and as a punt returner, because I think once we can actually see that live and what they both, Hamler and Hardy, if Hamler's ready to go tomorrow, what they can actually do at that position, because it's hard in practice. And I'm looking forward to Daquan Hardy. I think he's a guy that continued to make plays, splash plays, and has been good at coverage. They've been using him really everywhere along the defense. So he's an athlete. He's a guy that's been successful so far at training camp. And again, he's a guy that I would like to watch, along with who I actually put in my article, Kyer Elam, who I think this is a big first step for him. I think this is very huge for his confidence going up against this Bears team. Can he consistently, be productive? Will Rasul Douglas even play tomorrow, or will they trust Kyer Elam? Maybe not trust, but will they put Kyer Elam in the starting shoes and say, go guard these number ones on the Bears and see how you do? So it'll be interesting to see how Kyer Elam does. I think he's another guy that consistency is so important for him in terms of his NFL career and how it shapes up. And he's shown really everything we've wanted to, despite, again, the physicality and the flags at times, Alex. I think he's shown enough for us to be confident that he has that CB3 role pretty locked up, unless a late push from Jamarcus Ingram.
Kyron Brown, Kenai Lovely, and Corey Couch, an interesting name to watch throughout training camp. He's made a number of plays. Those three are cuts at cornerback. Now, safety, the landscape has really shifted here since we initially discussed the 53-man roster projection, with Cole Bishop and Mike Edwards missing plenty of time due to injury. Damar Hamlin seems poised to take over that starting job entering week 1. I just don't know if there's enough time on task for Mike Edwards, a new player in this Bills defensive system, and Cole Bishop, new to this system completely. So Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin could be your week 1 starters. And Rapp has done a nice job during training camp, but I don't know if I'm dead set confident on him going into the season as a starter. What's your view here? What's your confidence level? Do you think a Kareem Jackson, a Terrell Burgess could still make their way onto this roster, or do you think it's those 4 that I listed above? Maybe Bishop or Edwards could be an IR candidate, like I said, with Ulafosio.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there might be some room for a Cole Bishop IR spot for the safety room, but I'm looking
He's been on the bike and he's not been working that left shoulder.
Right.
So not even able to work it in that fashion, kind of concerning. And there were some unconfirmed reports about the nature of his injury. We won't get into those in detail, but if that is the case, that would be a more extended injury than it was originally believed. So that would definitely point toward Hamlin and Rapp starting the season there.
Yeah. I saw that as well. I think there is some uncertainty surrounding Cole Bishop. I really do. And Alex, this might be hyperbolic, and I guess I'm kind of a hyperbolic guy sometimes, but on day 10 of Bills camp, I know we talked about Ed Oliver being the best player on the defense. I really thought DeMar Hamlin, and again, this is totally like unbiased. This is straight what I saw and how I viewed it. I really thought DeMar Hamlin was the best player on the field on defense that day. I think at every level of the field, maybe not the best player on the defense, but the best version of DeMar Hamlin I've seen to this point in terms of in a practice setting or even a game setting. He was flying all around. He's using his instincts that I think sometimes he's been hesitant in the past in terms of going to the ball, attacking the ball, and bringing down the ball carrier or the receiver. I think he was very instinctual, no fear, making plays at every level. So I would say I'm pretty concerned with the safety room in terms of like a number scale. I'd still sit around a 5 or 6 just based off of you look at it on paper, and there's not a lot of success at the NFL level in terms of guys that have done it. But I think with Bobby Babbitt and Sean McDermott's scheme, you pair that with, I think, a Taylor Rapp, who I think is reliable and can be called upon. And again, Bobby Babbitt said they're going to put a lot on Taylor Rapp's plate to begin this year because he's the guy that has, I wouldn't say the most experience. Obviously, DeMar has more, but I think his talent paired with his experience in this Bill system, I think, gives him the nod to really be the vocal point of the safety room. So,
and the most recent experience.
Right. Yeah. So all in all, the safety room is definitely not, I'm just not sitting up here like smiling about it. And, they don't have 2 all pros back there that have done it at the highest level and that have, had so much success. But you have a bunch of guys that I think once Edwards and Bishop get back, and whenever they do, I think that'll obviously ease kind of what's the word, the worriness amongst the room there. But maybe Terrell Burgess can, I don't know, maybe he can carve out a little role. I don't know. He's had some special teams ability in the past with the Giants. He started some games with the Rams and alongside Taylor Rapp at times. So maybe there is some room for Burgess to make a run. But right now, I think I agree with you at the safety room. I have Rapp, Edwards, Bishop, Hamlin. I throw Cam Lewis in as a safety in my projections because I don't know where to put the Cam Lewis. I don't know what the heck position he plays. But yeah, those 4 for sure, I think, are making the roster.
I think on our next projection, we might just have to go defensive backs rather than splitting up cornerbacks and safeties. I think that's a good point. Finally, with special teams, your run-of-the-mill Sam Martin, Tyler Bass, and Reed Ferguson. Sam Martin, I think, has the punter job locked up, but there still is a chance that the Bills might try to look on the waiver wire. Maybe a big-name punter comes available, somebody that they might think will give them better production. But as of now, I think his role on the team relatively safe. Why don't you give me, before we move on to our final item of business here, why don't you give me your top player who you think needs a solid preseason to crack a roster spot? Anybody on the roster, offensively, defensively, somebody who could parlay a solid 3 games into a roster spot, whereas maybe right now they're on the outside looking in.
I think it's Lyle Collins, and I'm going to go back to that guy because I think what he's shown in the past, along with what he could be. I don't really think there's a player that could increase his stock more. You look at the cut candidates. You have 8 here on the Daily News on our 53-man roster projection. So Lyle Collins, if they keep 9, he's fighting for a spot with Keaton Bills, Gunnar Britton, Will Clapp, Kevin Jarvis, Travis Clayton, Richard Garage, and Tylen Grable. I mean, other than Tylen Grable and maybe a Will Clapp, I think maybe those are 2 guys that could maybe make a run. Maybe a Travis Clayton, I'm not sure, but I think
No,
Lyle
I
Collins.
don't think Clayton, maybe Garage, an outside chance.
Okay, so all in all, it's really Collins versus who? Clapp and Garage, maybe. Like if they have 9, who like of that cut list on the website on our
Grable, Garage, and Clapp and Collins, I think, are all in that bucket that you're speaking toward, that are kind of right on that bubble.
Okay, so that's who I think. If Collins can show versatility at the guard spot, he can play either side, and if he can go in at tackle and win some good reps, I think there really is an opportunity for him with 3 solid games based off contract, based off past success in the NFL, and based on who he's competing against for that 9th spot. If they do keep 9, I think Lyle Collins has the most to gain from this preseason. There's obviously other guys, but I think for a person in my eyes, for the individual himself to really rise his stock, it's Lyle Collins.
I'm going to go with 2, both at the wide receiver position. I know I'm kind of copping out here, but I think they go hand in hand. Chase Claypool and KJ Hamler, both of them need to be available. That's the first item of business. And then both of them need to show some production here. I think particularly with Hamler, he needs to show it as a kick returner. I think if he's going to make this team, he's got to show that he can use that speed to get some extra yardage in this new version of the NFL kickoff, whereas Claypool just needs to get back out there and show what he was doing during OTAs without the pads can translate with the pads in this offense, and he can acclimate himself into Joe Brady's offensive system. And that's the next and last item of business here. It's going to be exciting to watch the look of Joe Brady, and maybe Bills probably won't give too much away here during their first preseason game. It's not like they're going to be going very deep into the playbook, but just to see the overall scheme of Joe Brady's offense and an entire offseason to install his look on offense. It's going to be interesting there. And then on the other side of the ball, Bobby Babich calling the defensive plays. Sean McDermott saying that he spent a lot of time with the offense throughout training camp because he hasn't wanted to look over Bobby Babich's shoulder. I think that means Babich is going to have more of a stamp on this side of the ball than people believed. At the outset of the offseason, a lot of people, including myself, thought Sean McDermott might still call the plays. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think it's full steam ahead with Babich as the defensive play caller, and I'm interested to see what kind of mix he puts on the Bills' defense.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Like you said, I think it's going to be pretty vanilla in terms of the Bills' play calling. They obviously this is the biggest goal in walking away from this preseason game is protect Josh Allen, and the same thing for the Bears. Protect Caleb Williams and get out of there injury free. That's the 2 biggest goals for both these teams. That's the 2 big goals for, when you're playing your starters in these preseason games. That's the end goal for a lot of these coaching staff. That's what they want. They want to execute, get off the field, showcase their things. Who really cares about statistics or what guy does this? They want to see trends. They want to see players fighting for roster spots to make pushes and really fight and show their competitive nature. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what Joe Brady can do. I think you'll see some trends though. Still, like Alex, you said, they might be vanilla. I still think there will be some trends that maybe we can pick up, maybe some hints, maybe some different looks that Joe Brady implements throughout the game. And then defensively, Bobby Babich, a lot of players, especially veterans on the team, have said that, like Ed Oliver mentioned, there isn't really much of a difference between the scheme with Bobby Babich taking over the defensive play calling. I think he's been here since 2017, working with the linebackers and DBs and making them, all pro players. So I think he has a good idea of what this defensive scheme can produce and can do. So why go away from it? Maybe you'll see different, sub packages, or maybe you'll see maybe a 4-3 look, or maybe some more dime with an extra safety. But I'm not really expecting too much. But it will be cool for Bobby Babich in a play calling setting to see what he can do. And Alex has left the thing here, so I'm sure he'll be back here shortly. To anyone's listening, Alex has left the chat. John Robert, thank you for always commenting. Cole is using one arm on the bike. Yeah, I wouldn't expect Cole Bishop to be back before week 1. I don't even know if he'll be back for week 1. Mike Edwards is another player that we don't really know. Hamstring injury. Okay, so Alex wants to conclude the pod at that. So we will end there. One more word from our sponsor, Forefathers Organics.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, that will do it on the Bills-Bears preseason preview. I'll look over the 53-man roster. We gave it to you. Check it out on the dailynewsonline.com. As always, thank you for tuning in, everybody over 500 today. We appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. Always leave comments. We'll try to get to those questions. John Robert, again, thank you for tuning in. And you guys all have a great weekend. Bills football is back tomorrow. Bills-Bears preseason week 1. And as the great Alex Brasky says, we will see you next time.